It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News podcast. Travel and Cruise Industry podcast. No news in the title anymore. On this Memorial Day, for those of you that are in the States, happy Memorial Day. Welcome to the Monday show on this, the 26th day of May, 2025. I'm hoping to have a special guest this morning who I haven't seen yet. I had a message from him earlier. I'm not sure where he is. I'm not sure what time frame he's on. But anyway, hopefully he'll be popping in at any time now. So we're going to go ahead as if he's been here all along. Today's show is brought to you by Will US, the owner of Scootaround, and by chilliescruises. So that brings you up on that. Okay, we do have several news items today. In addition to our special guest this morning, I hope, because I'm counting on a major announcement coming from Alaska Travel Desk. The headlines this morning, of course, again, hopefully we'll have something from Nate. Also today, St. Kitts is on the rise. Passengers arrested in Spain. Also today, a UFO flies past a cruise ship. What? Athens taxi strike. The latest scam, actually on a Norwegian guest. Sea Cloud 2026. And Airlines ask Congress for special funding. And Usain Bolt has been named Jamaica's Global Tourism Ambassador. I look forward to meeting him next time I'm in Jamaica. All right, so if you're listening via the podcast, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the fat guy. We do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday most weeks. But if something major happens, we can do a show on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, and anything in between. Today, in addition to Memorial Day, is National Blueberry Cheesecake Day. I can deal with that. I enjoy cheesecake. I enjoy blueberries. So put the two together, I'm happy. This day in history, in 1897, that was, let's see, what was I? I was in the 5th or 6th grade then, wasn't I? Author Bram Stoker publishes Dracula. The book launches Gothic fiction as a genre and stirred the world's fascination with vampires. Not something that's ever been on my radar. I have to admit, pay no attention to that at all. Nor am I much in the way of anything that has to do with the future. As Hot Air Tom can tell you, he makes fun of me constantly because of things I don't know and have no interest in. But that's just me. So, all right. So, let's see. What can we do here? And Nate's not with us yet. And unfortunately, I don't know the details of what he was going to announce today. Let me see if I can send him a message via email while I'm sitting here talking. So we're going to do a compose to Nate. Where are you? Okay. Now I have no idea if he's going to get that either. So, all right, back to the to the business at hand. Nothing like breaking in with a little craziness. So, we're going to go ahead and go through the news portion of today's show and then back up if Nate comes in. How's that? That sounds good to me. So, before we get on that, let's take a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors, and then I'll be back with the first news story of today's show. All right, before I get started on the news things, I do have two things to share with you from members of the fam. This is Aiko Jones, originally from Jamaica. She was an All-American volleyball player at the University of Louisville and is currently a member of the Atlanta Vibe of the Professional Volleyball League and assistant coach at Bellarmine College. Aiko is on the Southern Caribbean itinerary of the Carnival Vista. The 8-day itinerary out of Port Canaveral stopped in Curacao, Aruba, and Grand Turk. Carnival Vista was built in 2016 and carries 4,716 passengers. Thanks, Aiko, and welcome to the Travel and Cruise Industry podcast family. So, whoops, wrong slide. This would be Bethany up in Ketchikan, Alaska. We've been traveling along with Bethany for this cruise. She picked up a short-termer, a good deal, jumped on it, threw a change of underwear in a suitcase, and got on an airplane. Basically, that's how it worked. And she got to Alaska. She did have to take a coat with her and her hat and maybe some gloves because it could be cold up there as it was at times. Anyway, we followed Bethany for the week. She's back. I think she got home last night. Not entirely sure. But anyway, this is when they were in Ketchikan, which would have been Friday, I guess. And she went to the fish house, which I've been there numerous times. And she had some fish and chips. And she visited with the bear. I think you'll find other pictures of that bear throughout my stuff. She did two things while she was there in Ketchikan. One, despite the crappy weather, she still went to the logging show. The logging show is fun and funny and a great time, no matter what the weather's like. I've been to it in the rain. I've been to it when it's sunny. I've been to it actually once when it was spitting snow. So I've done the logging show 3 times now. I totally enjoy it. If I make it back to Alaska again, I'll probably do it again. I just enjoy it immensely. This is the guy with the chainsaw out there doing crazy stuff. And then after it's over with, this is Bethany with the crew. She just jumped right in like she's part of the crew. That's the Lumberjack Show. Yeah, I know, folks. You don't have to tell me. I'm just saying. After that, she went to the Saxman native village, took a look at some totem poles, and then it was a dance program, a native dance program, and obviously a really good time. Then it was a day at sea, and she got back into Vancouver. You guys all know what I think about Vancouver. I was going to say that this morning. I'll say it now. For 40 years or so, my favorite city in the world has been Barcelona. Since the first time I went to Spain, which would have been in 1970, maybe. Could have been 69 or 70. Was my first trip to Spain, my first time in Barcelona. And I've been back to Barcelona about 8 times since and love it. Always have, always will. But I think Vancouver has overtaken Barcelona as far as my favorite city in the world. And that's because of Vancouver's extreme proficiency in accessibility. They're far better than any city I've ever been in. And that's just enough to take it that extra notch for me. I mean, the first time I was in Barcelona, I didn't have to worry about being in a chair. The second time and the third time I was in Barcelona, I wasn't worried about a chair. The last 4 times I've been in Barcelona, I had to worry about it 3 times. I had to worry about a chair. A little different set of circumstances. Although Barcelona is not bad, it's nothing like Vancouver. Every taxi cab in Vancouver, every one, is accessible. I mean, you can flag a taxi down anywhere if you're in a wheelchair, and they'll roll the ramp out and you roll right onto the taxi. It's fabulous. Every building that I've been in has been accessible. There have been no problems with hotels that I've had. Now, other people may have had some problems. Personally, I've never had a problem with anything in Vancouver. And I've been to Vancouver now 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Yeah, one time I did Seattle round trip. 4 times I've been to Vancouver. And a couple of those, I was in Vancouver twice. So that kind of adds it up. Where I went to Vancouver, I took a cruise up to Anchorage and got on another ship and came back to Vancouver. So I was in Vancouver twice on those trips. So I've done that twice. So that adds to the number of times I've been in Vancouver. Fell in love with it. But anyway, back to Bethany. This is landing back at the cruise terminal. She had a chance to go hiking around Stanley Park. Now, everybody knows I've talked about this before with Bethany. She's a huge hockey fan, of course, of the Tampa Bay Rays. But this is Lord Stanley of the Lord Stanley Cup, the Stanley Cup for the NHL. And this is the Lord Stanley statue in Stanley Park in Vancouver, British Columbia. She went to the Lift Bar and Grill while she was there down on the water. I've not eaten at Lift Bar and Grill, but I've seen it before. And this is crab Benedict. And that was she had for brunch. Is that a Bloody Mary? Is she working on her vegetable level after a long cruise? Maybe so. I'll have to ask her if that's a Bloody Mary. It could be. But I tell you what, that crab Benedict looks awfully good to me. So anyway, that's Bethany, and I think she's ended up her trip. Maybe we'll get her on the show one day soon. So thanks to Aiko and to Bethany for sharing their travels with us. All right, now on to the news portion of today's show. So the lead story today comes from St. Kitts. St. Kitts experienced a welcoming start to the year with a 15% increase in stayover arrivals, expanded connectivity, and lots more. During the first quarter of the year, the St. Kitts Ministry of Tourism recorded 46,641 stayover arrivals, a 15% increase from the year before, and an increase from 2019's pre-pandemic level. Additionally, the island welcomed Air Canada's return to winter service, which ended April 25th, adding more seats and therefore accommodating more travelers to the island. St. Kitts continues growing as a cruise destination. From October 24th to April 25th, the island saw an 8.4% increase in cruise passengers, with just under 750,000 passengers visiting the island. The island also celebrated key marketing wins, with marketing spots showcasing the island in Times Square and major airports across the U.S., in Miami, and on double-decker buses in the UK. New content has increased social media engagement by 314%. Along with the growth in tourism, organizations like St. Christopher's Air and Sea Ports Authority and the St. Kitts Urban Development Corporation are making visible improvements to the airport, Port Zante, and other spaces to meet international standards and enhance the visitor experience. The island was also awarded several accolades this year, including Caribbean Cruise Destination and Caribbean Adventure Destination of the Year awards by the Caribbean Journal. Two British cruise passengers, a 23-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman, were arrested in Ibiza, Spain this week after allegedly trying to cut their cruise early, leaving behind a $3,410 bill for onboard expenses, including the bar bill. The incident occurred on Wednesday, May 21st, when the cruise ship docked in Ibiza. According to news reports, around 3 p.m., two cruisers tried to rush off the ship with their luggage, seemingly in an attempt to avoid settling their account. The couple tried to leave the cruise liner in a hurry with their luggage, declining to pay the cost of expenditure linked to their whole holiday, a spokesman for the National Police in Ibiza stated. According to the National Police, crew members grew suspicious of their behavior and alerted authorities right away. Police quickly launched an operation to try to find the pair of travelers while attempting to get off the island of Ibiza. Local authorities were able to stop them around 6 p.m., 3 hours after they'd gotten off the ship. They were apprehended at the Ibiza airport and now face charges of fraud. The specific cruise line involved was not publicly identified by the police. However, maritime schedules for May 21st indicate that either MSC Grandiosa or Costa Toscana were visiting Ibiza on that date. For both of these vessels, Ibiza was a port of call on their itineraries, not the final destination. This could suggest that the couple may have been trying to take advantage of an early exit that would have been much more difficult had it been on disembarkation day. If the pair tried to get off the ship with an unsettled bill at the final destination, they would have been turned back. Two British cruise passengers, a 23-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman, were arrested in Ibiza, Spain this week.
We have the equipment you need to stay mobile. Whether you need a wheelchair, scooter, power chair, rollator, oxygen, or other pieces of mobility equipment, Scootaround, powered by Will, can help. Once you've booked your rental, we can deliver it to wherever you need. For your mobility needs, contact me or call Scootaround at 888-441 7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates.
Cruisers who are embarking or disembarking on May 28th through May 30th in Athens, Greece, should expect some delays with ground transportation and plan accordingly. The Attica Taxi Drivers Union is striking due to the alternate Minister of Transport Kostas Kriankis' supposed continued refusal to meet and negotiate with labor unions. The strike is set to begin at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, May 28th, and will end on Friday, May the 30th at 6 a.m. As scammers get more creative, it becomes an extra important for cruise guests to stay aware to protect their identities and their wallets. Though new schemes pop up all the time, the latest scam to make it to the internet cost a Norwegian cruise line guest nearly $20,000, and the NCL customer representative she spoke to is now trying to warn others before they meet the same fate. The guest had received a call from a 301 area code from someone claiming to work in our air department. She offered to help book the guest's large group of travelers on specific flights, the guest services agent shared on Reddit. The guest split the payment across 2 cards. Several days later, both cards were compromised. Norwegian Cruise Line is based in Miami, and the woman thought the phone call was legitimate because she mistook a 301 area code, which applies to Maryland, as a Miami area code. According to the employee, the area codes of all NCIL employees' direct line, including those that work remotely, is always 305. The only exception is that some folks in our Sawgrass office have a 954 number for Broward County. Making matters worse, the woman fell for the same scam a month later, likely after already having to go through the hassle of reporting her credit cards as stolen. A month later, the scammer called them back to say, "Good news, the price went down. Just give me your new card numbers. I'll book the lower price for you and then refund the original charge." This poor guest is now out close to 20 grand, the employee added. As the charge was not actually connected to the cruise line, there was unfortunately not much the employee could do to help other than to commiserate and offer advice. The cruise guest will have to turn to her bank to report the fraud and try to recoup her losses. And I can say from experience, good luck with that, folks. I don't find the banks to be cooperative at all in situations like this. Sea Cloud Cruises has announced early bird savings for 2026 sailings, offering 20% off when booked by June 30th of 2025. The promotion is available on over 40 voyages aboard the Sea Cloud 2 and Sea Cloud Spirit. The company has also announced the release of its 2026 brochure and said that the Sea Cloud will be an extended dry dock throughout the entire 2026 season. Airline CEOs at 9 of the largest passenger and cargo carriers in the U.S. are calling on Congress to fund billions of dollars worth of upgrades to the U.S. air travel system. The current air traffic system is failing Americans, the airline CEOs wrote in an open letter to Congress on May 21st. The jointly written letter references recent high-profile issues such as ongoing air traffic difficulties at Newark, the prolonged shortage of air traffic controllers, and a January 2023 outage of critical FAA system that sends notices to commercial pilots called NOTAM. Among the CEOs who co-signed the letter are the top executives of American, United, Delta, Alaska, Southwest, JetBlue, Atlas, FedEx, UPS, and Airlines for America, an industry lobbying group. Eight-time Olympic gold medalist sprinter Usain Bolt has been named the global tourism ambassador for his home country of Jamaica. Jamaica's Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, announced the appointment, which recognizes Bolt's contribution to the country's global profile and his commitment to promoting the island nation worldwide. As global tourism ambassador, Bolt will promote the island nation's tourism and showcase its rich cultural heritage.
Experience Alaska at an affordable rate. VR1 balconies are only $1,289, including taxes and port charges. MSC Poesia sells from Seattle, May 25th, 2026. Book now. Call 434-258-9264 or go to bit.ly/PoesiaAlaska1.
All right, that puts an end to the news portion of today's show. Let me jump over here to see if by chance I've gotten an email from Nate, and no, I have not. And let's check for a text message from Nate. You can probably hear my housekeeper in the background. Nothing from Nate on text. Okay, so I don't know. Nate must have fallen asleep or something. Who knows? So what I'll do, folks, I'm not even going to touch the announcement. I will either tape an interview with Nate later on today, maybe do a special show for it. I don't know. We'll see. It's somehow or another it'll go up, or I'll just save it for Wednesday. That's all. So I'll take that under advisement with him whenever I talk to him next. Really disappointed because I was looking forward to that being a major portion of today's show. All right, so let's go over and see who's in the chat room, who's fussing at me today like normal. Okay. Kenneth's with us. Good morning, Kenneth. There's Mike. Hi, Mike. Bob's with us. Hey, Bob. Hi there, Tom is here. Roger says hi from Jacksonville. Son-in-law here. July will mark 25 years of military service. Awesome. We certainly thank him for the service. That's fantastic. Gretchen's here. Says hi, guys. Gary Older Than Dirt's with us. Says have a great Memorial Day. There's Jamin. Good morning, Jamin. How's things in St. Louis? Jamin's in St. Louis this weekend. Or was in St. Louis. He might be home again now. He was planning on eating some special stuff. So we need to hear about the food, Jamin. Joanne's with us. Says happy Memorial Day. Hot Air Tom says, Roger, thank him for us for his service. That's from Cindy and Tom. Absolutely from all of us, Roger. Roger says, had a Zoom call yesterday with my family in remembrance of Nikki's life. Ooh, but that was a toughie. I invited the Singleton family members and people who worked with her at Pittsburgh Law School, Oklahoma Law School, and Jacksonville. It got very emotional at times. There were lots of tears. Boy, I bet, Roger. I would have been right with you, my friend. Because, we all miss Nikki. Nikki was like our family, too. So, yeah, Well, thinking about you, my friend. Thinking about you. Otter Tom says, I wonder if MSC does daily credit card pre-authorizations like NCL does. The way NCL does its cabin charges, leaving early would have no effect on having the final payment charges. I had one cruise with MSC. As I went to get off the boat, they stopped me because I had something stupid like $1.38 credit. I said, I don't care about $1.38. That's not worth me standing in line. They said, oh no, we can't do that. You have to be zero when you leave here. You can't owe us. We can't owe you. So I said, okay. So it wasn't standing in line at guest services. They had a separate desk set up. I had to go. I was second. And they gave me the $1.38 or whatever. It was just a ridiculous amount that they owed me. So I don't even remember how I got overpaid. Probably from some kind of a credit. But anyway, so yeah, MSC could be a little bit different, Tom. Gretchen says that's expected, Roger. So many people loved her and miss her. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. We both agree, miss her bunches. There's Steve in Kentucky, says good morning to everyone. Amy's with us, says happy Memorial Day. Hello, Amy. This is a day that I get to think about my dad. And I'm going to end the show mentioning him a little bit. My father was a survivor of World War II, but he was rated at having total and permanent loss of 3 limbs. He spent 3.5 years in the hospital in Walter Reed Hospital in D.C. During and after the war. He had one leg amputated at the knee. He had no muscle below the knee in the other leg, and he had 6 inches out of his left arm. His elbow was like, up here. So I had 6 inches, and they reconnected the arm, which wasn't a great deal of use, but it was somewhat usable. But he was rated as having total and permanent loss of 3 limbs. Coming along, as I came along with Vietnam, I could have been drafted, but they could not have sent me to a war zone because I was the sole surviving son of a totally and permanently disabled veteran. On the backside of that, neither could I go to VMI, which was always my dream, to go to VMI and have a military career. So I couldn't do that either. But I was pretty proud of my dad. Growing up, I didn't get to know my dad. I mean, he was always here. He was here every day. He worked every day that I can remember. He worked until I was gone to college and off on my life when he finally retired. I remember him having just tons of operations, especially with kidney stones, because of, in those days, all the calcium products they gave the GIs that had bone issues, and that formed kidney stones. So he had like a dozen times that he had kidney stones removed. And once the kidney would not heal and they had to remove the kidney. So that all happened as I was growing up. My dad would still do things like go fishing. I've shared the story with Roger about Ted Williams. Ted Williams got to know my dad through the years that Dad was in the Red Sox organization in the business management office. He wasn't a ball player. But they talked fishing a lot. And Ted Williams flew into Roanoke one time. I don't know, 11, 12 years old. I was a little kid. I hadn't started driving yet. But he came into Roanoke, and Ted got in a car. We drove down to the James River to some cousins that had a farm on the river, and drove out to a point in the James River and went down a bank through a creek and out on the point of the land. Ted Williams picked up my dad, carried him down the bank, went across the creek, set him up in a chair out on that point so he and Dad could fish for the day. Of course, I was a little kid. I fished too, but that was a day for my dad and Ted. So nobody's ever been able to say a bad thing to me about Ted Williams, needless to say. But anyway, I was really proud of my dad. One weekend in college is where I really got to know my dad. He and I opened a bottle of bourbon when we got back to my apartment, and drank some bourbon and talked. And Dad went through everything he remembered about the war, about his experience in Walter Reed, about some of the things he did, like meeting presidents and going to ball games and having the lady that had the Hope Diamond. She came over, and my sister says, "Oh, that's pretty. Can I see it?" And Evelyn Walsh McLean, I think her name was, she took the Hope Diamond off and gave it to Jean. And Jean was sitting on Daddy's bed playing with the damn Hope Diamond of all things. But yeah, a lot of things like that happened at Walter Reed, where people, political folks, would come visit the servicemen. But anyway, yeah, my dad was interesting. Of course, he was big Chillie. I was little Chillie. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, I hope everyone has a wonderful Memorial Day. Use it for what it's meant for, folks. Think about those that have gone before us, those that have served us in any way that they can, those that have, in fact, laid it all on the line for us to have the freedoms we have today. That's going to wrap me up for today. I'll let you know as soon as I know about Nate and what we're going to do on his absence this morning. That's it for today, guys. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great holiday, everybody. See you on Wednesday.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.